Are you visiting Boulder, Colorado this summer? If so, I have 6 activities that you'll want to do while you're here. Hi guys, I'm Audrey. I'm known as Glowstick. In 2018, I quit my amazing job in Washington, D.C., thru-hiked the Appalachian Trail from Georgia to Maine, and then moved to Boulder, Colorado, where life is wonderful. I love this city so much, and I'm so excited for you if you're coming out to visit this summer. So I just wanted to share a little insider info on some fun activities that you can do while you're here. So let's get into it. Number 1, if you guys know me, if you've been on my channel before, you know that I am huge into hiking. I love hiking so much. It's my favorite thing, and Boulder is an amazing place to go hiking. We have tons of hiking trails right in Boulder, but some really special ones are our 5 peaks. So this includes South Boulder Peak, Bear Peak, Green Mountain, Mount Flagstaff, and Mount Sanitas. So those are actually in order. If you were to do all of the peaks in one trail, you could do it in that order or the opposite way. I can't play favorites. I love all of the peaks, but I would say if you're gonna just choose one, to either go with Bear Peak. That's probably one of the most popular hikes in Boulder, especially for people coming out of town. It's just, the views from Bear Peak are incredible. You can see the city, you can see the mountains beyond. It just is a really dramatic kind of top of the mountain, so it makes for really cool photographs. Bear Peak is where it's at. However, Bear Peak is kind of a long hike. I would do Bear Peak by starting at the South Mesa Trailhead, hiking up Shadow Canyon and hiking down Fern Canyon, or vice versa. But there are a few different ways you can go. I'll put some information in the notes here about how to hike Bear Peak. If you only have a limited amount of time and you do want to do one of these peaks, I would recommend Mount Sanitas. Sanitas is the shortest hike. It's the lowest in elevation. However, be forewarned, that does not mean it's an easy hike. If you go up the Sanitas Trail, the Mount Sanitas Trail, and come down the Sanitas Valley Trail, which is my favorite way to hike Mount Sanitas, this is like a 3.1 or 3.2 mile hike, and it's a loop. About a mile of that is uphill. So that doesn't sound like anything crazy, right? I agree. However, you gain about 1,000 feet of elevation in that mile. So it's a pretty tough hike. So just be forewarned that you might think like, oh, 3 miles, no big deal. I'll knock that out in an hour. Well, it'll probably take you a little bit longer than that. The fastest I've ever hiked it in was about 1 hour and 15 minutes. And I'm used to the elevation in Colorado. I hike all the time. I would not expect a lot of people to be able to hike it in that amount of time. I mean, if you're hiking all the time, you're super fit, you're a trail runner, whatever, no problem. But just be forewarned, it is difficult, but it's such a great hike though. So sorry, I feel like I'm making it sound like, oh, it's so hard, you shouldn't do it, whatever. No, you should absolutely do it if you're in healthy physical condition, because you get to the top. I mean, the trail itself is just really cool. You get views the entire time you're there. Lots of times there's wildflowers on the side of the trail, and then you get to the top and you have this wonderful view of the city. So I really do recommend it. And then once you get about halfway down, if you're coming down the Sanitas Valley Trail, the trail really chills out, and then you have a nice stroll back to the parking lot. So don't let me scare you. I really do recommend that you hike one of our peaks here. It's one of the things that makes Boulder so very special, and I don't want you to miss out on that. But if you're not a person who is in super great physical condition, don't worry. We have lots of, we have hikes of all difficulty levels. You can find nice, easy trails if that's what you're looking for. One that I recommend is the Flatirons Vista Trail. This is about 3.5 miles. It's a loop, and you get a really nice view of the Flatirons, which are our mountains here, without any of the elevation gain, really. It's a pretty easy stroll as far as hikes go. So if you're not in very physical condition, consider that one instead. Number 2 also involves hiking, but doesn't have to. This is to visit Chautauqua Park, which is our mountain park in the middle of the city. It is stunning. It's so pretty. It's like you park there and there's this open, amazing field, often full of wildflowers if you're there in the right season. And then behind you just get this incredible view of the Flatirons. There are trails that go right from Chautauqua Park, but you don't have to hike while you're there. There are often different shows that you can go to while you're there, such as music or interesting talks. I went and saw a talk there by Scott Jurek, who at one time had the fastest known time for a supported hike on the Appalachian Trail. So that was super interesting. I'm pretty sure he lives in Boulder. Lots of different events that you can go to there. I know that they occasionally do yoga, sunrise yoga especially. You can have a picnic while you're there. You can just go and take beautiful photos. You don't have to hike, but if you do want to hike, there are options. And one hike that I really, really like that starts right from Chautauqua Park is the Royal Arch Trail. It's about 4 miles round trip. This one is also a pretty difficult hike, even though it's short, but you get to hike up through a beautiful forest to this amazing, huge arch that you can just go up to the arch. It overlooks the city. You have a really nice view from up there. It's worth a visit, I think, if you're gonna stop at Chautauqua Park. Number 3, go out for some water sports at the Boulder Reservoir. You can rent paddleboards and kayaks from Rocky Mountain Paddleboard right at the Boulder Reservoir. And the reservoir is gorgeous. The water is blue. You get out on the water and you have this incredible view of the mountains. It's really nice. It's really chill. I like to go paddleboarding out there, although I was not able to get a permit this year, which you need to take your own paddleboard out there, unfortunately. But if you're just coming in for a visit, I would definitely recommend renting a kayak, renting a paddleboard right at the reservoir, going out for an hour, going out for 2 hours. You can have a picnic while you're there. It's gorgeous, it's relaxing. There are lots of birds out there, lots of geese, but other birds as well. So definitely recommend doing that. And the reservoir is only 15 minutes from Central Boulder, a 15-minute drive, so it's super easy to get out there. You can also go swimming at the Boulder Reservoir during certain hours. They have a little swimming area, they have lifeguards, they have a snack shop. It's a really nice time. Just be forewarned that at the Boulder Reservoir, they do charge per person to get inside, which is, I know, a little steeper. Like a lot of times reservoirs and lakes will only charge for a car to get in, but they do charge per person. For residents, I believe it's $7 per person. For non-residents, it's $9 per person. There might be a discount for kids and senior citizens. I'll put some information about this in the notes, but just be forewarned, it is a little more expensive than some of the other reservoirs and lakes around. Number 4, if you are a drinker, if you like beer, if you like craft beers, you gotta hit up some of our breweries while you're here. We have so many. I don't actually know how many breweries we have. I've tried to look this up before and I have not been able to find a solid number. I think it's tough because constantly some are closing, constantly new ones are reopening. And I know that during COVID, at least a couple of them closed that I know of. So I'm sure it's hard to keep track of, but we have a bunch. If you're feeling really like you want to check out a lot of them, a good option is there's this thing called a pub pass. I'll also put this in the notes so you guys can check it out. I have one. I got it as a gift from a friend for my birthday. And what it is that it's a pass that has a bunch of pages in it, and on each page there's a different brewery. These are breweries not just in Boulder, but in surrounding cities as well, like Louisville and Longmont and Lafayette. Anyway, so you take your pass into the participating brewery and you get a free beer at that brewery. And I believe these only cost $20 or $25, and there's a whole bunch of breweries in there. So if you're coming out and oh, I want to take myself on a little brewery crawl, I want to check out a bunch of different breweries, that's a really good option. So I would recommend the pub pass. As far as which breweries to go to, the sky's the limit, obviously, but some of my favorites are, I really like Upslope. They have 2 locations in Boulder, and if you are, you know, you can't have gluten, you're more of a seltzer person, they make these things called snow melts, which are really good seltzers, and some of them even have electrolytes in them. They partnered with another Boulder company, Scratch Labs, which makes electrolyte powders for drinks. And so the seltzers have alcohol and electrolytes in them. Great for ski season as well. Okay, so that's Upslope. I really like them. They also in the summer sometimes have live music events. You do need to get tickets for these, and I think they're about $10. But that's a fun weekend activity to do while you're here. I really like Sanitas Brewery for their space. They have a wonderful outdoor space and a little taco hut that you can get tacos from while you're there. And then if a train goes by, because the train tracks are right behind the building, if a train goes by while you're there, they have a special where you can get a certain kind of beer for much cheaper as the train is running. Just be careful with that. I had a friend once get too excited about the train beers and have a few too many, so don't get wrapped up into that. So that's Sanitas. I really like the beers at Vision Quest. That's kind of over near Sanitas. You could hit both at once, but I don't love their space. It's just kind of a small indoor space. They don't have any outdoor space. There's nothing interesting around it, but their beers are super, super good. And then I also really like Twisted Pine. Their beers are really good. They're a little strong, which apparently is on purpose. And just be careful because the elevation, the higher elevation can make you get a little tipsy a little faster. And I fell victim to this when I first moved here. So just be careful. I prefer my beers to be a little lighter on the alcohol. Twisted Pine likes their beers to be a little heavier on the alcohol. So just be aware, but they do put the alcohol percentages on the beer. So you can pay attention and be careful. But their beers are super good and they have really good food. I can recommend the nachos and the pizza, both really excellent. But no matter what brewery you choose, you can't go wrong. There's so many good ones here. So enjoy. Cheers. Number 5, attempt this if and only if you are very adventurous. This is go tubing down Boulder Creek. So Boulder Creek runs down through the city from the mountains, so west to east. And one of the traditions that people do in Boulder is they go tubing on the creek. However, don't be fooled. This is not a lazy river. This is not like, oh, let's get our beers. We're gonna go chill out on the creek. It's gonna be a really chill time. It's not. There are rapids in that creek. It can get intense. You should not do this until I think about mid-July because the creek is filled with snowmelt water, and until that time, the water can be really high and it can be dangerous. So you can check in advance, and I would recommend doing this to make sure they keep track of the creek water levels, and they'll tell you like what level is basically safe to go out on the creek. So do some research, make sure in advance that the levels are safe to be out on the creek, and just keep in mind that it is highly recommended that you wear a helmet and a life jacket while you tube out on the creek. And there are places in Boulder I know that will rent tubes. So I'll find out what those are and I'll put those in the notes as well. But make sure if you go do it, you have a life jacket and a helmet. I did it the first time that I went out there and I was legitimately fearful for my life because there are these little like waterfalls that you have to go over with like, you know, churning underneath. And I was like, what if I get pulled under? What if I hit my head on a rock? But it is very exciting. It's very exciting to go tubing on the creek. I feel like I'm not selling it, but it's super beautiful. The creek is so pretty. There's a lot of people out there enjoying it all the time, like whether they're tubing or rafting or taking a kayak down or just, you know, chilling by the water, getting a tan or cooling off or going swimming. It's a really nice time, but the tubing itself is a little intense. So I feel like I shouldn't just be like, yeah, get out on the tube, have a great time, have a beer. No, don't do that because it's way more intense than that. And obviously, like the later in the summer you go, usually the less water that there is in the creek, the water levels are lower because, you know, all the snow's melted as you get late into the summer. I took my brother last Labor Day, and it was way less intense than the first time I had gone the year before, which was, I think, mid or late July. So if you're here a little later in the summer, it's a little more gentle, but still not, you'll still probably spill your beer, and you don't want to be drinking the water out in the creek. And I feel like if you have a beer, the water could get inside your beer can. So maybe go tubing down the creek and then go to a brewery afterwards. Have a high adventure time and then go chill out with a beer. So that's my advice. And number 6, go check out the Pearl Street Mall. This is a historic part of the city. I say mall, but it's not like an indoor shopping center. It's an outdoor, open air, beautiful brick historic part of the city where there are lots of shops and restaurants. There are a couple of breweries. So you can just go up there and do some shopping or get a bite to eat. There is, up in the Pearl Street Mall, I really like going to Mountain Sun. It's kind of a Boulder staple. It's a brewery and restaurant. They have American food that's very fresh and like homemade. As of the time of making this video, it still hasn't reopened from COVID. There is another one of these across town. There's Southern Sun as well, and then there's another one. I'm so sorry, I forget the name, but they also have a pizza place. I haven't been to the pizza place, but I've been to both Mountain Sun and Southern Sun, and they're both delicious. Their beer's good. Their food is good. I mean, I love just popping into all the little shops. Like there's a kind of a hippie-ish clothing store up there I really like. There's a honey, like bee store up there. They sell lots of like honeys and things made from beeswax, and they have a little cafe where you can get honey flavored coffee drinks. You can do meat samples. There's an old fashioned candy store out there that's really fun to duck into. I like to get my family little gifts and like little jokey stocking stuffers for Christmas from there. And I know that I'm saying this video is for, you know, if you're visiting Boulder in the summer, and I wanted to make it that way because I wanted to be able to include the water sports. But of course, Pearl Street is amazing all year round, and even in the winter after it snows, it's so magical, and they put out all these Christmas lights, and it's just super pretty. But all times of the year, it's like kind of buzzing with action up there. People love to go out in there on the weekends. It always feels very alive. Oh, and I should also mention up on the Pearl Street Mall, there is a place called the Yellow Deli. This is a restaurant. And people don't believe me when I say this, but I swear to you it's true. This is run by the 12 Tribes cult. And I know about them because I stayed with them in their hostel on the Appalachian Trail in Rutland, Vermont. They also have a Yellow Deli restaurant there. They have several locations throughout the United States and the world. And I mean, the food is super good. It's homemade. They make everything homemade. They have these farms that they work on. They get fresh produce from. But it is a religious cult, and they've been called out for some not great behavior, especially to their women and children. And it's definitely a cult because you have to give up all your money and possessions to them in order to join, and then they can send you to, apparently they can send you to whatever chapter they want. They give you whatever job is needed. They assign you a job. It's very interesting. If you want to have a cult experience, go to the Yellow Deli for lunch. They are closed though from Fridays, I believe at 3 p.m. to Sundays at 12 p.m. for the Sabbath. So just be aware, if you're only here on a weekend, you will have to go Friday before 3 or Sunday after 12 p.m. But they're open, I believe, 24 hours a day the rest of the week. And the decor inside is really cute. They decorate all the restaurants the same. But if you are not wanting to have your money go to supporting a restaurant run by a cult, perhaps skip the Yellow Deli. Make your own choice whether you'd like to go there or not, but I'm just bringing it to your attention that it is there, whether for good or bad. So those are 6 things that you can do while you're visiting Boulder, Colorado this summer. If you come out to visit, I'd love to hear about your experience. I'd love to hear if you did any of these 6 activities while you're here and which was your favorite. Maybe if you tried some of the breweries, which one you liked the best. So please report back and welcome to Boulder. Hope you have a wonderful time. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Leave me a comment if you do visit. I always love hearing from you guys, and engagement is so helpful in getting my videos out to more people. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you all later.